The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Radio Global, Who Knew Productions, JSA Media, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, daywalkers and night stalkers. It's me, your vampire mama, coming to you live from under stormy skies in southeastern Louisiana. Yeah, dark children, it's really me. Seems like I gave a few of you a little bit of a scare last week. Well, would you expect anything less from me? And on Halloween night? No, of course not. So, yeah, I had to spend a little bit of time on the phone the next day to let some folks know that it was just a prank. Some folks are still wondering, and I kind of like it that way. So, anyway, I'm hoping all of you guys enjoyed your Halloween, but as you already know, every day is Halloween in this twisted little mind. So I got some gruesome little goodies lined up for you tonight, and we're even expecting a drop in from the Scream Queen in the second half of the show tonight. Oh, yeah, baby, Scream. All right, so strap in tight. You're now taking off on a blood-curdling ride with your vampire mama at the wheel. So, okay, folks, just a little heads up here. November is National Adoption Month. Now, I have nothing against adoption, but you got to remember, when you stick your hand in that bag, you could draw back a nub. So, statistics are like this. Out of 500 serial killers in the United States, 16% of them were adopted. And to further that, an adopted child is 15 times more likely to kill one or both of their adoptive parents. Among that list is Joel Rifkin, Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler, and of course your friend Ted Bundy, otherwise known as Son of Sam. The dog told me to do it. So just thought I'd let you in on that little tidbit of information, and that now concludes my public service announcement for the evening. So, now on to our first urban legend of the night, Slender Man. Been reading up on this guy. Seems like he's a little busy boy. Well, not exactly. Slender Man was created in 2009 as an internet meme. So why are we even talking about him, right? Well, it seems like he's part of a growing fad. There are urban legends that were created on the internet, yet somehow they're managing to morph into something horrible. And I got a few of these little ditties to share with you tonight, but we're going to start with this guy first. But before we get started on the Slender Man, I want to tell you, sometimes people refer to him as the Dark Man. They are not the same. The Dark Man is rooted in Sicilian legend, and I'm actually working on a project concerning this evil demon at the moment, and I gotta say, it is some kind of macabre. So, really, folks, if you're into dark horror and gore, you're gonna love this book, so keep an eye on my websites and my blogs for a launch date. So now that we got that out of our way, let's move on with Slender Man. Okay, so this dude is said to stand around 7 to 8 feet tall. He's got unusually long and thin arms and legs. And the legend says that he can stretch his limbs and bend them in all kind of unnatural ways, better to grab his prey with, my sweetie. The folks that are filing these reports say that he's got a white face, but there's like no discernible features, so it's basically a void when you look at him. Apparently their brain is a void as well. But anyway, they say he's a silent stalker that likes to hide in plain sight while he's searching for his prey, and he tends to be partial to kids under the age of 16 because mind control is like his typical snare. Legends say that he's often spotted around the same time as mass kidnappings, but the truth of it all is that this evil meme did seem to brainwash two 12-year-old girls. If you hadn't already heard about it, I'm going to give you the long and the short of it. So these two little twits lead another 12-year-old twit into the woods, and they stab her 19 times just to impress the Slender Man. Wait, what? Yeah, madness. Anyway, the victim actually survives, and her two little BFFs, well, they're going to be sitting in the pokey for a while, so no prom for you two dumbasses. Anyway, it seems like that in Wisconsin, all murders or attempted murder charges for kids over the age of 10 start in adult court. So this means at least 45 years in jail if these little twits are convicted. Now that's a horror story for you right there. Now, here's a way cool internet sensation. It's called Robert the Doll. Now, it's a little bit different because Robert wasn't created on the internet. This legend's been in circulation around Florida for decades. In fact, he's said to be the inspiration for Chucky from Child's Play, and that's been around for a while as it is. But he's just made his internet debut, and folks are starting to eat this creepy story up, so I want to share the legend with you. All right, so Robert was this hand-sewn doll that looks like he's about 3 feet tall or so. His eyes are black orbs sewn into a scantily featured face, and he's dressed in this cute little sailor suit and even has a little sailor hat on. Now, the doll was given to the son of Thomas Otto by a fired servant that was known to practice witchcraft. So the boy names the doll after himself, and the two of them become virtually inseparable. Now, it's normal for a small child to have pretend friends. Robert's just happened to be a doll. Or was it? It's said that Robert would stay in his room for hours with this doll, and when his mother would come to check on him in the room, she could distinctly hear two voices, Robert's and something else. So things began to happen all over the house. Odd little things would turn up missing and be found in strange places. Rooms would be ransacked. Things would be broken. And it seemed that Robert had this little thing for destroying stuffed animals in particular. And, of course, it was always the doll that was blamed. But there seems to be a pretty good reason for that, because Robert had been spotted running up the stairs and taunting folks, mostly children, from the second-story window when they walked by down the street. Plenty of folks heard him walking around. Many of them heard him giggling. Oh, and check this out. So this wicked-looking little doll creeps up behind a plumber one day, sits down on the floor behind him, and starts giggling. That dude hauled ass out of the house in the middle of the job, left his tools and everything. But anyway, at some point, Robert's parents finally take the doll away from him, and they store it in the attic. Well, Robert didn't like it up there, Robert the doll, because he kept popping up in places all over the house, and they'd keep putting him back up in the attic. Several times this happened. And eventually, things kind of settled down somewhat, but there were still always the bumps in the night, or the little feet running across the attic floor, and giggling seeping through the walls. But eventually, the boy, Robert, grows up, he moves away, gets married, and when his parents died, he inherits the house. But then he rediscovers the doll. Well, his wife hates the creepy-looking little bastard. But Robert has been sucked back in, and he's grown reattached to this doll. And at this point, he starts claiming that the doll needs his own bedroom to face the street. So the wife eventually wins out. I imagine she cut the dude off. I don't know what happened, but she wins out, and the doll goes back into the attic. And again, the doll has to be taken back up into the attic several times because he keeps popping up all over the house. And of course, same thing, there's the occasional bumping and dragging of feet across the floor and the giggling coming out of the walls. Well, in 1972, Robert dies, and the house is sold to this other family with a 10-year-old kid. It's a little girl, and the little girl finds the doll and just claims it, says it's mine. But as you can guess, the whole shitstorm starts all over again. But these parents were a little bit smarter. They didn't let it go as far. When enough misfortune seemed to have plagued their home, they donated Robert to the Key West Martello Museum. Now he sits behind this glass cage most of the time. Sometimes he's sitting, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's tapping on the glass or giggling at people who are passing by him. Robert's also known to turn the lights on after hours, and it's a well-known fact amongst the staff that he walks around the museum at night because his feet are always covered with fresh dust, and they have to clean them almost daily. So Hoping you dug that story as much as I did, but I got another story for you about another little boy and a doll. You guys are going to love this. Okay, so The Hands Resist Him is a painting that was created by this artist, William Stoneham, in 1972. This dude was under contract with an art gallery to produce 2 paintings per month. So he's on this deadline. He's got to come up with something fast, and just so happened that his girlfriend had just finished writing a poem in his behalf titled The Hands Resist Him. It was about Stoneham's childhood as an adopted child. My mind's kind of wandering back to those adopted kid murder stats, right? But anyway, Stoneham's inspired by the poem, and he thinks back to a childhood photo of him and a little girl from the old neighborhood that he grew up with. And in this photo, these 2 of them were posing against this doorway in front of a glass door. So Stoneham throws this creepy twist on the photo and produces a painting that most certainly contains some of his demons from the past. This painting shows kind of a depiction of Stoneham as a younger child, and next to him he's transformed the girl into a creepy-looking doll with big hollow black eyes. And behind them is the glass door, just like in the photo, but pressed against the glass door in the painting are a whole bunch of disembodied hands. They're just kind of rising up from the darkness, reaching towards the boy. Well, in 1974, the painting is sold to John Marley, who was a Hollywood actor. I think he was in The Godfather. Also involved in this transaction was the gallery owner and an art critic. So here's where it starts getting creepy, guys. 3 years later, the critic is dead. 3 years after that, the gallery owner dies. 3 years after that, Marley dies. So, I think I'm seeing a pattern here. Anyway, when Marley died, the painting had actually already been sold to a couple in California, and they said they immediately began experiencing some crazy shit with it. So this couple that bought the painting said that from day one, they were both disturbed by this overwhelming sense of dread. Then came nightmares of a little boy that would crawl from the painting and wander around the room wherever it was hung. So check this out. They're both having the same nightmare, too. So then these guys get keeping a close eye on the painting, and they begin noticing that both the boy and the doll would change positions. And then the wife wakes up in the middle of one of these nightmares, gets out of bed, heads to the kitchen for a glass of water, and just out of curiosity, she stops off at the room where the painting's hanging, and she sees the boy crawling back into the painting. Yes, so the painting goes into storage, and it's actually lost for 26 years. It was rediscovered in the back of an old brewery that they had turned into an art studio. The painting then shows up on eBay in 2000 with this weird warning written into the listing that said, "At the time we wondered a little why seemingly perfect fine painting would be discarded like that. Today we don't. One morning our 4.5-year-old daughter claimed that the children in the picture were fighting and coming into the room during the night." So, the seller further claimed that after the daughter's continued complaints, her husband sets up this motion-sensitive camera in her daughter's room just to show the little girl that there's nothing to be afraid of, everything's cool. Yeah, well, dear old dad was more than surprised when he reviewed the footage because he sees the little boy crawling out of the painting. So, emails start coming in from people that viewed this item on eBay, and they're saying that they began feeling ill and weird things started happening just after looking at it. And some of them that were seriously considering purchasing this painting said that they started having all kind of paranormal activity in their homes. So the couple go back on eBay and they added further disclaimer, which said, "Warning. Do not bid on this painting if you are susceptible to stress-related disease, faint of heart, or are unfamiliar with supernatural events." I'm thinking I'm going to list something on eBay with that. That's probably going to sell for a whole shitload of money. But anyway, the painting was eventually purchased by a gallery owner from Michigan named Kim Smith. It's in storage, and it will only be shown to those who schedule an appointment. The owner says that there has been no further activity. However, earlier this year, this dude, Daryl O'Neill, publishes a book about the painting. So O'Neill states that he had printed a photo of the painting while it was listed on eBay. He left the printed photo on his desk, and then he leaves to go out of town for work. Well, when he gets back, his air conditioner has freaked out, and everything inside of his apartment was covered with this green mold. Every single thing except for this painting. Creepy, right? So, okay, well, we're not going to let it die off there. I've got another doll story for you. This one is about Mandy. Mandy is a turn-of-the-century porcelain baby doll. It's dressed in what looks like to me is a christening gown. She's about an average size for a regular doll, and she appears to be in pretty good condition with the exception of maybe a little cracking on her face. She does have one other flaw, though. It seems that she's haunted. No kidding. So no one knows for certain how the doll became haunted, but there is a legend. They say that she was created in Germany around 1910. Now, I haven't found any certain dates on the next part. This is my assumption. I assume that it was during World War II. They say that Mandy was trapped in a cellar with this little girl, and the little girl dies, and supposedly her soul enters the doll. Many years after this, someone is led to the basement by the sound of a crying child. And when the doll's found, it was said to be crying tears of blood. What we do know is that Mandy was donated to the current owner in 1991 by a woman that said her house was plagued by the sound of tiny feet running through the house in the middle of the night. And she would also be wakened up in the middle of the night by the sounds of a crying child. When she walked through the house in search of the source, all she ever found was an open window in whatever room it was where Mandy was being stored. So the current owner, the Quesnel Museum in British Columbia, says that Mandy's mischief began on her first day that she was donated. Staff often started complaining of their lunches disappearing, and then they'd show up later crammed into a bottom drawer of their desk. Other objects would disappear. Some of them would never be found. And custodians often reported hearing the sound of tiny feet running around, and the windows were always unexplainably open. So when she first arrives at the museum, there wasn't a permanent spot for her, so she's placed in a chair near the main entrance, and I guess she's there to greet the guests when they came in. Later on, they moved her to a room that was close to the front of the museum, but she apparently didn't care for her new spot. After the first few days of her being relocated, it appears that Mandy pitched a fit. When the staff arrives that morning, they found in the room an absolute mess. Things were knocked over. The room was in complete turmoil. Papers were scattered everywhere. And they said that this continued until they finally moved Mandy out and put her into this large display case with a bunch of other dolls. Yeah, well, that didn't last for long either. These other dolls kept being knocked over. Some of them were badly damaged. So Mandy was then stored in a glass case of her very own. And since then, her mischief has kind of been contained to her immediate area. Guests do say that they sometimes hear a child crying when there's no children around. There are also complaints that when someone goes to take a picture of her or video her, their equipment starts to fail. And a lot of people say Mandy's hands and eyes move and they follow the guest around the room until they become uneasy enough to eventually leave. Well, that's about enough of creepy dolls, don't you think, and such, right? No? Okay, well, cool. Anyway, I've got other stories that I'm dying to tell you about. This was a first for me. I ran across this last week, and I thought it was really cool, and you guys would enjoy it. Ever hear of a Dybbuk? Yeah, that's what I thought, because me neither. So a Dybbuk is defined as a wandering spirit that possesses the body of a living person until it's exorcised. I guess that's what we would call a demon. Anyway, okay, I got it. So I ran across this and I thought it was pretty damn interesting. So I'm going to tell you guys about it. So this beautiful wooden wine box enters the market at an estate sale. It was previously owned by a woman that lived to be 103 years old. Before the old woman died, she requested that this box be buried with her, but because it wasn't typical to Jewish rituals, the rabbi refused her last request and actually left her family responsible for the care of her personal possessions. So it's September 2001, and there's this huge estate sale in Portland, Oregon, where the old woman's belongings are being auctioned away by the grandchildren. A local cabinet maker lays his eyes on this unique piece, and he immediately feels compelled to buy it. At the end of the auction, the cabinet maker is approached by the granddaughter, who informs him of his grandmother's last wish. And she goes further and tells the guy that her grandmother always said that the box must never be opened. They were obviously all raised around the box. It was kept very well guarded. All the grandchildren know, don't touch it. So she shares this information with the purchaser. So this old woman, a little bit of history on her, she was the only member of her family that survived a Nazi concentration camp. Her parents, brother, sister, husband, and 3 of her children were all murdered at this same camp. She actually wound up surviving because she escaped with a bunch of other prisoners, and they fled to Spain, where she lived at least until the end of the war, when she came to the United States. The wine box and a couple of other items were purchased in Spain, and actually it was one of 3 things that she brought with her when she left to come stateside. So the cabinet maker's heard all of this, and he starts feeling a little, emotional. And he's thinking, well, maybe I'll leave the wine box with the family. It's got to have some kind of sentimental value. So he offers the box back to the granddaughter, and she immediately refused him. So he's going, look, I don't want a refund. I want to return it, and we'll call it a good deed. So the granddaughter starts getting irrational, and she starts crying and screaming and just going out of control, and she demands that this dude leaves immediately. So he did, with his newly purchased relic. So the cabinet maker brings the box home to his shop, and he puts it away, and he's got these intentions that he's going to refinish it and give it to his mother for her upcoming birthday. So the next day, after he opens the shop, he leaves to run some errands, and he's not gone but about 30 minutes, and his cell phone rings. It's the girl that works for him, and she's frantic, she's babbling, and she's screaming in the phone about somebody being in the shop with her. She says, I can hear glass breaking and somebody swearing, and on top of all that, all the security exits have locked themselves, the gate's locked, and she couldn't get out. So the shop owner starts listening to what all's going on, and he's trying to calm her down, and as soon as he starts trying to talk to her, his phone goes dead. So he turns around, hauls ass back to his shop, and when he arrives, he finds that the gates and the doors are all still locked, so he has to go through an act of Congress to get into his own shop. He gets in there, and he finds this distraught employee curled up in a fetal position under the front counter. She's still sobbing hysterically, so he mans up and starts walking through the shop, and he's looking around, and he sees that every single light bulb in the shop has been shattered. From regular screw-in bulbs, chandelier bulbs, to 4-foot fluorescents, every single bulb had been destroyed. Not only was there the mess that he had to contend with, but the entire shop smelled strongly of cat urine. No, the guy didn't have a cat. So he goes back up and he checks on his employee, or he's got intentions on checking on his employee, and he finds out she's gone. She done got the hell out of Dodge. She never returns to work and absolutely refuses to talk about what happened to this date. So a few days later, the mess is cleaned up. The light bulbs are all replaced. Mom's birthday's coming up, so he decides he's going to get to work on restoring this cabinet. So what does he do? He opens the damn thing. Yeah. Inside, he finds a 1925 and a 1928 wheat penny, a lock of blonde hair, a lock of brown hair, and a dried rosebud, a small gold wine cup, and a small granite statue, and a cast iron candlestick holder. That's some weird shit. But anyway, so the shop owner puts all the contents in a box, and he's going to take them back to the estate, and the people at the estate adamantly refuse to take them. They don't want it. So he goes back and he starts restoring the wine box, and he's looking at it closer, and he decides, I'm not going to refinish it. I'm just going to give it a good rub down with lemon oil. So that way he's definitely going to have it ready for his mom's birthday. So the next morning he gets a call from his mom that she's going to go out of town and stay with her sister for the next 2 days, and they'll celebrate when she gets back. And the day she gets back just happens to be October 31st, Halloween. So Mom gets back in town, goes to his shop, and he presents her with the box. But before she's able to get any kind of response or any kind of feedback from her, he gets called away to take a phone call. So while he's on his phone call, one of his employees runs in, and they're screaming that something's wrong with his mother. So he runs back into the room, and he finds her completely unresponsive. Tears are rolling down her face. So Mom goes to the hospital by ambulance, and once they stabilize her, they realize that she can't speak and she's got partial paralysis. And in order for her to communicate, they gave her this notebook with the alphabet written down on it, so she's pointing out to spell out words. So she takes the notebook and looks at her son and points out to spell no gift. So her son starts laughing, thinking that she'd forgot about it, and he assured her, yeah, Mom, I gave you a gift. And she shakes her head no and points at the book again and starts spelling out hate gift. So a few days later, since Mom hated the wine box, he gives it to his sister. 2 days later, she returns it, says the doors won't stay closed. He looks it over, sees no problem, and a few days later, he offers it to his brother. 3 days later, he brings it back and says the box smells like jasmine, and his wife says the box smells like cat urine. So, okay, he gives the box to his girlfriend. She brings it back in 2 days and tells him to sell it. So he puts it for sale in his shop, and the next day, a young couple purchased it. 3 days later, he goes to open his shop for the day and finds the box sitting in front of the door with a note on it. The note says, "This has a bad darkness." So the guy winds up taking it home with him, and it's then that he begins to see what the problem was. Every night since he brought it home, he's had this same nightmare. He's walking next to a random friend, and at some point he turns to look into their eyes, and he sees that there's something evil staring back at him, and his friend's face starts to morph, and he turns into some gruesome and demonic-looking old hag who proceeds to beat the living shit out of him. And when he wakes up the next morning, he's bruised and scratched. So a few weeks into this nightly pummelings, the brother and his wife and sister all come over to visit for the weekend. And the first morning, they're all gathered at the table for coffee, and his sister complains about having nightmares. She says, the same one I had before. So she starts describing her dream, and the room gets absolutely quiet. They had all had the same dream. At that point, he runs to the phone, calls his girlfriend, asks her if she'd had that dream. Sure enough, she'd had the same dream. So after this, the shit hits the fan in his house. Shadowy creatures begin lurking through his house, and he's not the only one that's seeing them, because his guests and his neighbors see them as well. So he puts the box outside in the storage unit, and he's woke up the same night by a fire alarm. So he goes into the unit to see what the hell's going on, opens the door, and he's nearly knocked down by the smell of cat urine, but nothing's on fire. So he goes back inside, and he finds that his house now smells like cat urine. So he goes back into the unit, grabs the box, and begins investigating it on the internet, and he dozes off, and somewhere around 4:30 he's woken up by the smell and the feel of something breathing on the back of his neck. When he looks up, he sees this large shadowy figure dart out of the door and down the hall. So now he's awake. He lists the box on eBay with a detailed outlay of his experience, and the box sells to Jason Haxton, who is a museum director. So now Haxton has a bit of a history to add to this legend as well. He says that since he's acquired this box, he's had prophetic dreams along with an array of health issues ranging from vision loss to hives, and his house is infested with shadowy creatures that float across the floor and the walls. So why hadn't he got rid of the damn thing? Well, Haxton kind of deems himself the caretaker. The box is safer in his hands than the hands of some poor unsuspecting bystander. So since the paranormal activity began, Haxton spent hours researching the box and the Dybbuk that's latched to it, and he's personally consulted with scientists, Kabbalists, Wiccans, priests, and other paranormal professionals. And for the past few years, the box has been sealed inside of a cassia chest that's lined in 24-karat gold, and it's kind of rendered the Dybbuk neutral at this point. So Haxton's informed his entire family that he wants to be buried with it, just like the old woman that owned it in the beginning. His wishes are the same for the same reason. He wants to keep it safe and protect everybody else as well. But in the meanwhile, Haxton has written a book and he signed a movie deal. And the movie Possession, released in the United States in August of 2012. I'm sad to admit that I haven't seen it, but that can be remedied. Hey, chime in, Daywalkers. If you've seen the movie, inbox me and let me know what you think about it. Is it worth watching? But anyway, it's getting to be about that time, kiddos, and my wine glass is empty, but that can also be remedied. So while I'm at it, I invite you to do the same. Make your pee run, fix your drink real quick, because we're coming right back up to meet with the Scream Queen, Cindi Crotts. And thanks for tuning me in and turning me on right here on Armed Radio Global and TuneIn Satellite.
How can you see into my eyes like open doors, leading you down into my core, where I become so numb?
Are you hangry? Know the signs. Uncontrollable yelling.
Why aren't you egg rolls?
Hallucination.
Sushi.
Pants discomfort.
I hate you, pants.
Hangry. It can happen to anyone. Fortunately, there's E24, the app that tells hunger to shut up.
Egg rolls. Thanks, Snoop.
E24. In my medical opinion, it's the best way to order food online, baby.
Hey everyone, as you all know, summer is now here and everyone wants sexy summer skin. I'm partnered with Rodan & Fields, the #2 premium skincare company in the US. We have some fun treats for you guys. Check out my website at www.ewinters.myrandf.com. But wait, there's more. Join as a preferred customer to get 10% off and free shipping for all these amazing products that I'm currently obsessing over. Or email me for a free mini facial or free consultation at ewintersrf@gmail.com to get your sexy summer glow. Hey everyone, I want to tell you all about an amazing salon. Joyce's, located at 132 Ferry Street in Everett, Massachusetts. Joyce's specializes in the latest techniques in coloring, styling, cutting, and beach waves. Joyce's features Takesha all-natural nutrient products and organic color. Joyce's full-service spa and salon, located at 132 Ferry Street, Everett, Massachusetts. 617-387-6688. Specializing in you.
And now, another fresh insight from Roger Berkowitz, President and CEO of Legal Seafoods.
If your wife can't take the time to test your tuna for purity, then why should you take the time to come to a complete stop before letting her out of the car? Just saying.
Legal Seafoods. If it isn't fresh, it isn't legal.
Hi, my name is Amrita Ratnarayan, aka Valanissima. Amrita means ambrosia or nectar of the gods. Valanissima means the birth of divine knowledge. Join me every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for a night talk with Joe Rocks, exclusively on TuneIn Satellite on Armed Radio Global Network, where we will discuss food, culinary arts, baking, cooking, food preparation and presentation, bringing you a little bit of the divine knowledge so you can create your own nectar of the gods.
Where were you? We've been waiting this whole time. I've got Cindi, the Scream Queen Crotts, here with me. She came all the way from Cindyland just to be here with me tonight. So welcome to the show, Cindi. Thanks for taking a walk on the dark side here with me tonight. What's up, girl?
Oh, not much. I am so glad to be on here. Great to be on your show.
Aw.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. Now I met Cindi. God, how long ago was it now? Has it been 3 years, 4 years ago? Yeah?
Maybe 4, but I'd say 3 to be safe.
Yeah, 3 years ago at Spooky Empire. And you were there promoting what at that time? Do you remember?
I was actually promoting different films that I was in, but my biggest thing was my film that I wrote, trying to get it off the ground and get people to know a little bit about it and tell everybody. It was called Hell's Little Angels.
Oh.
And, things happen and things have to take a back seat.
Yeah, that's called life.
Yeah. So my film has been sitting and marinating all this time. So, I do want to get it back started. I've talked to a few people, just here and there saying, hey, are you still interested? Hey, you still want to, if I can get this going again, what can we do? And I still have quite a few people that still want to be involved in this film. So that to me tells me that the ones that did read the film, that's got to know the film, that obviously I've done a good job for them to still, after 3 years, possibly 4, still want to be on this when I am ready to shoot this film.
So has it got a lot of blood and guts in it, or is it a monster thing, or tell us a little bit about it.
If you like Tarantino's films,
yes,
Rodriguez films, so
yes,
there's a lot of blood.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking I like it. Hey, can I die in your movie if you start shooting it? You give me a walk-on role where I can die?
I could possibly do that.
Okay. I was holding Jason LaCourie's feet to the coals when he was on the show. I'm like, I want to die in your show. And he's like, what?
I find that funny. It's like everybody goes, I want to die in your film. It's like, what? Okay.
Oh, dude, so I'm not the first it's asked, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that, knows a little bit. They don't know the whole story, but they got to know a little bit. They got to see what was out online and what's posted up. I do have a Facebook page, Hell's Little Angels, so you can. There's no commas or apostrophes in the name, by the way.
Okay.
So it's just Hell's Little Angels.
Okay, cool.
It tells a lot more. I'm not very good at telling about it. And the reason why I say that is I tell too much. So I'm like, just go to the page.
There you go.
I wrote the whole thing, and I wrote everything on the page, but it's like, it is, and it's not because I wrote it, but it's like, once you write a film, then you have the people over at the time, you cast in the film, and you're doing your read-through, first time for everyone reading it. And when you have people going, oh my God, this is awesome. Oh my God, I so see, this movie, and I see that movie. They kept seeing all the Tarantino and the Rodriguez. They saw all that in my film. I'm like, I told you, I was a fan of those.
That's awesome.
And they were like, oh my God, this is so cool. And it just felt good because I wanted to hear a reaction from the cast and the crew that was there to hear their reaction, if it was good or not. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
Your first time.
Right.
And you just want to know. I mean, that tells a lot too. And just watching their reactions, I was like, oh my God, they really like it. I'm like, cool.
That was confirmation that you had done as good of a job as what you thought you did, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, so how many films have you been in?
I have actually been in over 30 independent films.
Wow. Do you die in a lot of them? Or are you the killer?
I had to die a lot before I could become a killer. So I didn't get to start straight out killing people, but you got
to work your way up, huh?
Yeah, you got to work your way up. I died in a lot of films, but it was fun. It was like come back to tell about it all. That was awesome.
What was your favorite one?
There's so many. They all have their favorites. You know what I mean? There's some of it could be this scene was your favorite scene, but because it's still recent and it is still the top of everybody's list, and everybody still wants a feature film of this one, would have to go with Creepy Crawly.
Okay,
it's a short film, and it is actually a fan favorite. Everyone loves that film. It creeps people out. Hell, it even creeped me out when I first saw it. Because when we filmed it, they wouldn't let us see it. they we would see what we saw, but it's like we had to actually, such as the creature, you had to pretend there was a creature because there was nothing there. But you had to, it was like a green screen kind of, you had to act. It's like they would tell you, okay, over here, over there, it's right there, okay. And you just had to react to it. And I was like, okay, because I had no idea. They kept telling us things like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. And you're like, I have no idea what this thing's supposed to look like. And when they shot the film, they did everything, got it already. So when they had it at Spooky Empire, they did the premiere for everyone. I was sitting there watching it. People were asking me, oh, is it cool? Is it good? I'm like, I don't know. I've not seen it. I was like, it's funny. I can be in a film, but I can't see it. I'm just acting at the moment. But when we saw it, and I was like, oh my God, I freaked out. I was like, oh no, they did not. And I was like, ugh. And it's because it's like a spider kind of creepy thing. And that's what creeped me out. Because they had it come up over my shoulder in one scene. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, no way.
That's funny.
I was like, I would have just right there crapped my pants if that would really happen. They would have got probably even a better reaction. But from what I did.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was like, oh my God, I got to go clean up now. But yeah, they did an awesome job with that. And it has turned out to be one of the most popular horror short films that I have been in. It's also, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's one also at the Melbourne Independent. I think it won an award there.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's just an awesome film. And
so, do you work with this one company in particular, or you work with a bunch of different companies? How do they find you? Or you just have the reputation of being the Scream Queen and they hunt you down, or what?
I'm hunted. Well, it's just like anything, after you see stuff, you audition, you send in, and then after a while, people get to know who you are.
Right.
And they go, I've gotten cast in a film just for the simple fact of, people know who I am, all the horror films, and to top it off, it's funny, but to top it off, there's one little thing that grabbed some people's attention, how I promote films that I'm in. They said, because you promote, you talk about it, you post up, you tell people, you just keep going and going and going. They said, I would really like for you to be in my film. I've seen you in other films, so I know you can do this, but you're one hell of a promoter, and I would love to have you on my. And, they tell me what my part is, etc. But I've gotten just sometimes based on that. And the rest of the times it was basically, I saw you in this film, so-and-so told me about you, etc.
Well, that's cool. They like get a bonus when they hire you on to come do a part because they know that you've got like a good chunk of the marketing taken care of as well, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I market and I talk to people. I'm like, oh, check this out. Go here, go see this movie. Creepy Crawly, come in. And even though it's already done, I still Creepy Crawly. It's #1 for the Halloween this year, and I just posted up all about it this year. And Halloween when it comes around, I'm like, your favorite, award-winning horror film, Creepy Crawly.
Sweet. Now, we talked last night or yesterday when we were doing our sound check. Now, are you going to be at Spooky Empire in December?
I'm going to at least try to be there for Saturday. I don't know if I'll get to be there Friday and Sunday, but I'm definitely going to try and be there for Saturday. But at least it gives you a whole day, and you don't have to worry about doing any work the next day or the day before.
Yeah. The one thing I've learned about Spooky is eat your breakfast and start drinking. So if you're not drunk the whole weekend, you're going to feel like shit because you're going to be hungover. So just stay drinking the whole weekend and it's all going to be all good, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember when they used to have the parties where people, I think it would start on Friday night or Saturday and go all the way to Sunday. I can't remember which one. I think it was Saturday to Sunday.
Yeah, I've missed out on that, and I've always do the VIP party while I'm there. I think that's on Saturday nights, and well worth it.
Yeah. So it was a Saturday thing, yeah, where they used to do that. You would have all day, and then the VIP party, and then it just lasts on up into the next day. I was like, who can party this much?
Dude, that's awesome. You should get in touch with PD and Gina and tell them you want to come and promote some of your horror flicks that Saturday. I'm sure they'd be glad to have you.
Yeah, I mean, I still have films, that I have for sale. I mean, I didn't sell all of them out. I still have them. Kind of like when you go to, places that sell movies, it's like, well, I have some right here.
Right, that's right. Buy from me, I'll autograph them for you.
Exactly. See, you can't get that if you buy it from Amazon, but if that's the only way you can get the movie, then by all means, please buy it.
Right?
And then bring it to Spooky when you see me, and I'll sign it.
There you go. There you go. So have you done anything with a vampire in it? I gotta ask, because I'm your vampire mama.
Have I done anything with the vampire?
Yeah. Any films? I'm not asking you about your sex life, Cindy. Just films. It'd be interesting, though, if you have and you want to tell us. Okay.
I haven't had a vampire encounter yet, but I would be up for that. So, anyone out there, please let me know. Just light bites for right now until I get used to it. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Once I get used to it, then you can be, a little rough with it. But, yeah. Start out, be easy on me.
Yeah, break me in easy.
Right?
So I was thinking the other day, too, I was talking with John, and I remembered the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you'd be reminding me, what exactly was it with the spoon? It was a murder weapon, wasn't it?
Yes, that's in my film. It's part of the film that, it's kind of, there's so much in my film that I'm like, well, if I say that, that's a surprise. If I say that, that's a surprise. I'm like, I don't want anybody to know about that yet.
Okay, so we'll just say there's a killer spoon attack scene in the film.
Yeah. It's a cool scene. But yeah, it'll make you think different about wooden spoons, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, John was very excited to make that for you. I think Jason's actually got him doing some work for him, too, for Jack versus Lantern, the sequel to Lumber versus Jack. Yeah, so he's all into that. And, years ago, he didn't even like horror, and now he's, all into it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you hang around people like us long enough, we will rub off on you.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
No choice but to like it. So you're working on anything now, or still planning for doing your film? What's current with Cindi right now?
Well, as of right now, things are, like anyone else that's taken some time off, trying to regroup and get back in the groove. I do have one thing. There's not a whole lot to tell about it yet. I am a casting assistant for a feature film called Blotched. We did some castings a ago and watched the auditions and everything. So I was there with the writer, director, and hopefully I say his name correctly. It's Robert Birdsall. Birdsall, hopefully that's how to say his name. But he does have a page. It's called Blotched.
Okay.
And they are going to start shooting in December of this year in the Tampa Bay area.
Tampa Bay? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they'll start then. And if you want to know more about it, if I'm not mistaken, they do have a Facebook page as well, and it's Blotched, B-L-O-T. Find out more about it there. Learn. So yeah, we're just trying to do a little bit here and there, and I can see they got it posted up.
Okay.
1 month away from starting principal photography. The real work begins right now.
Wow.
See you all in Tampa Bay.
Cool.
So yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like you've got plenty enough. You're making it sound like that's not a whole lot, but it sounds like you've got plenty on your plate at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do some other stuff, myself, doing different things. I still talk about some of the films, still tell people about them. Like, for instance, another award-winning film, Die Delta Pi, is now actually on Fandango Now and also on Amazon Prime. So I've been promoting that and letting people know about it. So and go out there, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a 3-time, possibly 4-time award-winning. And that was my first film that I was nominated for Best Actress in. First nomination.
Yay! Yeah. Very cool.
And believe it or not, I'm not a killer in that at all.
Oh, really?
I'm a bad guy. I say bad guy because people don't like cops, but I'm a cop.
Oh,
But yeah, and it's and what was funny when I was on set, there's people asking me, "Are you a real cop?" I'm like, "Excuse me."
If you only knew, huh?
Like, wow. Okay. I said, "Do you think I should go across the street and see if I can get a donut for free?" I mean, I would take a dare and do it, but somebody said you might get in trouble. I was like, okay, let's not. I don't want to get handcuffed with my own handcuffs
over a donut,
right? I'm like, no, I'm good. And then one of my other films that is Bikini Monsters. It was it's like a creature feature, so it's one of those fun all around film, and we did that one a few years back. But it has come back, and it is now on Amazon Prime as well.
That's cool. Seems like when something hits Amazon Prime, it really starts kind of going, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's like once they get distribution, and then they get out there on Amazon, Fandango, Netflix, any of those places, people start watching and start looking, and like me, I will promote the hell out of whatever I'm in, and I'm like, hey, go check this movie out. Hey, I'm over here, I'm over there, I'm over here, and it's like on every page. Plus, I talk about it on Cindyland, starting to get back on that again.
Good deal.
But yeah, and also just kind of throw it out there, Bikini Monsters 2, Red Tide, they're hoping and really pushing for summer of next year. So, looking for that one. And that's a film by Terrence Muncie. Awesome guy, great guy, loved working with him. Had a great cast and crew. So, I'm really looking forward to Bikini Monsters 2, Red Tide. I'm keeping my fingers crossed as well, hoping it all turns out and we start filming summer next year, because that will be awesome.
Well, that's cool. I hope so for you as well, then.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us on all of your wonderful films. And I'm actually going to look up Creepy Crawlies. I guess I was just too busy or too starstruck or whatever when you were promoting that and forgot to do it. So I'm going to do that now and check it out.
Yeah, I actually put it on my Facebook page for everyone to see. So if you just scroll down around in October area, you'll see where, of course, I was promoting all the films and saying, oh, get this, get that. You'll see Creepy Crawly. Just click there. It was actually on October 31st.
Okay.
I posted up that night, and yes, you've got to see it. So
I'll do that. I'm not writing at the moment, so yeah, I'd be happy to check that out. I'm always looking for a new horror flick, so that's awesome.
Yeah, and people do. They want Creepy Crawly feature film. They want and they say let's do part 2. And it's like, well, we got the short film. And they're like, let's do 2, and it's like, we're still in if you want to.
Well, yeah, go ahead and do that. That way you can sell the bonus pack that's got part 1 and part 2 collector's editions, and that's a whole new marketing ploy for you.
Yeah, and it's like the guys that we all worked with there, they're awesome too. Like I actually saw them at the Fear Film Festival. It's actually put on by Robert Musetti, and he does Fair Film Festival. It's like my tongue twisting thing. I can't say all that at one time.
Right.
Like, but yeah, he was there, and then Scott Tepperman was there, and I just surprised him because I didn't say I was going to come or anything. I didn't have a film in the film festival this year, but I saw that, and I was like, wait, they're going to be there. Like, I'm going to surprise them.
Right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so I saw, and after the after party, I wanted to go to see one of the films, but I didn't make it quick enough. But yeah, it was the Freak Show Horror Film Fest.
Well, that sounds like a place I need to hang out.
Yeah, and it had everyone there, Robert Massetti, Tepperman, and Jason Daly, and we are the Creepy Crawly team. It was the English version, but yeah. It was so funny. They go, oh my God, it's a Creepy Crawly reunion. I'm like, yeah.
It's an omen, right?
Yeah. They said, we've got to do 2. It's like, yes, we do. I'm so there. We need the feature length. I'm like, yes, let's do this.
Well, so, that's awesome.
We have a lot of people that want that done. And like, it's like anything else. It's like, we just keep sending those cards and letters, people.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, girl. I'm so happy you dropped by and told us all about your films. Now tell everybody where. Now we already know Amazon Prime is where we can go to get most of your, or 2 of your movies anyway. But tell everybody out there listening how to get in touch with you and where to go to visit Cindi Land and all that kind of stuff so they can start following you as well.
Well, you can actually go on Facebook. I tell everyone to go there. Much more easier than find me another. Just go to Facebook. Type in Cindi Crotts. It's spelled with a Y, so it's Yndi. Crotts is Crotts. And if you can't find me for some reason, just go to your local search engine, type my name in, and there's about 6 to 10 pages that pops up, and I'm all over it.
There you go. When in doubt, Google, right?
Exactly. Google knows me really well.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, my girl. Well, I'm going to wrap you up, and we're definitely going to have you back. So keep me in the loop when you start filming again. We'll have you come back on and promote your new project on the air with me, your vampire mama.
Definitely will.
Cool, girl. Well, thank you, and you have a good evening now.
Thanks, you too. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming.
All right.
All right. Well, dark children, creep on over to Cindi's sites and fan pages and show her a little bit of scary love. It's about that time, and the show is getting near to its end. Time flies when you're talking horror, and with the exception of me being murdered last week, I always close the show by reading a story from my blog. So I got a great one for you tonight, too, but just remember, if you can't wait until Mondays for creepy urban legends or haunted history, you can always find your bloody fill on my blog at authorlynnGibson.com. And while you're at it, drop by my fan page on Facebook under Author Lynn Gibson or Southern Horror Queen. Tell me what you think about the show and let me know if there are any legends or other horror-related stories that you'd like for me to research and discuss on a future show. Keep it scary, kiddos, because your vampire mama don't do Disney, right? So, okay, here we go. This is the legend behind Vampire Island. So the past couple of decades, there have been numerous archaeological finds pertaining to vampire burial sites, and the most recent example was unearthed in Poland in July of 2013. The skeletal remains were found with a brick wedged firmly in the mouth of the suspected vampire, traditional means of execution for the era and region. We've all seen that picture. Anyway, the Upior and the Upierzia are vampires of Poland. There were fierce creatures, and they were known to eat their burial shrouds. This breed of vampires rose after midnight and fed until just before dawn. Its insatiable lust for blood was never, ever sated. The Polish took many measures to prevent their dead from becoming, well, undead. So deceased were buried deeply within the earth, face down, with crosses made of willow branches across their chest or their chin. This was a typical burial. However, when there were suspected cause for the deceased to turn, the body was decapitated and the skull would be placed between their legs while stakes were driven through the body, further enforcing that the corpse would remain in its grave. So 1,455 miles south of Poland are the Greek islands. One in particular is the Isle of Lesbos, not lesbians, Lesbos, also known as Vampire Island. There are mass graves of vampires that are currently being exhumed still on this island. Archaeologist Hector Williams has been studying this island for the past 40 years. One of Hector's vampire graves in Poland, number one, was the most recent discoveries where two skeletons were found still pinned within their coffins by long metal stakes. Hector was also discovered evidence that small surrounding islet known as Pamphylia, which lies just a few kilometers off the coast, could be a mass burial site for vampires as well. So his work's really cut out for him. Another 411 miles south of the island of Lesbos is the island of Kamenea in the area of Santorini. This island is known to be powerful and a mystical place for vampire exile. Relatives of the deceased would prep the body, place a small cross comprised of a piece of silver and 2 pieces of wood into the mouth of the corpse. The hands would then be bound by rope that had been saturated with holy water before placing the body in a boat and transporting their loved one to the island. The belief was that because of the volcano, the soul was rich in sulfur and would inhibit the corpse from rising again. So the families would also have additional security of knowing that if their deceased were turned into a vampire, it would not be able to cross the salt water. Unintentionally, the cautious families were in fact preserving their dead. The high levels of sulfur combined with the antibacterial properties of the soul worked together to delay decomposition of the corpse while mummifying the remains. It is said that one island, the dead won't melt unless numerous mass vampire graves are being discovered more and more frequently, allowing for us, the enthusiasts, to have a closer look into the centuries-old vampire lore. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Got another one coming together pretty quickly for you for next week. And like I said, if you can't wait till Monday to hear the show, always go to authorlyngibson.com. Check out my blog. Any legend that you're familiar with, type it into the search bar. You're probably going to find it there, and probably some that you'd never heard of before. So in the meanwhile, kiddos, keep it creepy and join me here right back next week, same time, on Armed Radio Global and TuneIn Satellite. Good night.